welcome to Asian Horizon. Today I want to look at the JCPOA talks, the 7th round of nuclear talks that were in Vienna last week with Iran. Now the question is, what is going to happen? Well, first of all, now the European parties in the negotiations are not presenting the Iranian recommendations to the United States because the Iranian negotiators and the US negotiation team do not negotiate directly in these talks at the moment. Question is, are they going to reach an agreement or not? Well, currently the US and Iranian positions just seem too far apart for there to be an agreement in the near future. If Iran sees the potential to reach an agreement, then Iran is probably going to be willing to have more nuclear talk rounds. However, if based on whatever statement the US comes out with, if Iran does not see the potential to reach an agreement, we may see that Iran actually withdraws from future potential talks. Now, what are going to be the implications of this? Well, first of all, if they do reach an agreement in some way, that may be a phased agreement, meaning that the US could potentially be willing to phase down its sanctions based on Iranian commitments to limiting or to basically re-entering the agreement by downsizing and limiting its nuclear enrichment, which it did scale up recently. Now, if that is possible to have some type of phased step-by-step re-entry agreement, that could potentially be a possibility. However, that will require a substantial amount of trust, which seems to be lacking. Currently, that is the major challenge in this situation. There is basically really no trust between Iran and the United States. However, if they are able, through skillful mediation and negotiation, to reach some type of phased agreement, that could potentially be a possibility. Now, if they are not reaching an agreement, then we are back to status quo. Iran will then probably continue its nuclear enrichment, which it has been doing for some time. And the US on its side may intensify sanctions towards Iran, but they really have already a maximum pressure policy against Iran. But there potentially could be more companies or persons in Iran that the US would sanction. But then again, this is just going to increase the risk level between the US and Iran and in the region. And then the question is Iran going to pursue a nuclear weapon or a nuclear military capability? That remains to be seen. The question is, how long would that take for Iran? Again, that is also uncertain. Could be anything from 6 to 18, 24 months. If it is also talking here about, the entire capability of having nuclear military capability on missiles, MIRVs, re-entry vehicles, and basically the full scale of military capability that is involved with a nuclear military capability. So again, that comes back to the question of, how far has Iran been able to proceed with its military technological research and nuclear research. That's uncertain, that's unknown, but I think most players now and analysts really examining Iran's nuclear process and nuclear work generally see that Iran is advancing. Iran could be closer now to a potential nuclear military capability than it has ever been before. But again, the time frame could potentially be anything from 6 to 24 months or longer, but probably not shorter. So again, then the question is, what will happen then if Iran becomes a nuclear power in the Middle East? Well, that could trigger a nuclear arms race with other countries then also seeking nuclear military capability. Again, remains uncertain what will happen, but if they are not able to reach a JCPOA agreement, that may definitely increase the risks further in the future. I do not foresee any war in the near future. In terms of attacks towards Iran, would have very high risks because Iran would retaliate immediately, militarily as Iran has stated repeatedly before. Therefore, I think we're going to see a status quo with risks and tensions continuing in the foreseeable future, unless there is some type of JCPOA agreement, a phased agreement between the parties involved. But again, remains to be seen. Well, thank you so much for joining. I look forward to see you again. And remember to subscribe to Asian Horizon. Thank you.